Welcome to a winning edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade. My name is Gabe Henderson. I'm alongside Ben Leber. Ben, the Vikings win today, 5 in a row, 34-26.
Feels pretty good.
Feels pretty good.
Feels pretty good.
And the fact that it was more than 3 points or 4 points or 5 points,
yeah,
I'll take it. But if I had to explain this game, I would say it was kind of like a seesaw, right? Up and down, up and down. But it was fun.
Yeah.
For you, how would you define this win for the Vikings?
I thought this was kind of stereotypical of what happens after a bye week. It's a little inconsistent. You know, there are ups and downs, and we don't play the cleanest football sometimes because you just got to reset your pads. You've got to go through all the little things again. We had a lot more penalties than we normally have, you know, for our Vikings team. But as the game went on, obviously defense kind of bailed us out a little bit, you know, more so than the last few games. It bailed us out again. You know, got to the quarterback a bunch. You know, had a bunch of takeaways.
Yeah.
So it was inconsistent, but kind of what you'd expect coming out of the bye. A little sloppy.
To your point, 10 penalties today for 75 yards. The Vikings averaged 4 penalties a game, so that was un-Vikings-like. And also, the Vikings had the most rushing yards they had the entire season. Dalvin Cook, 111 rushing yards. He had a touchdown. Kirk Cousins looked like another number 8 that wears purple in the NFL in that 17-yard touchdown run. And Alexander Mattison, another touchdown run. This Vikings run game got going early. What did you see that propelled them to this strong start?
Well, I think just a commitment to the run. I think this is the first time all season long, you look at the first half, we actually ran the ball more than we passed the ball. And, you know, I know that we talk about, we got to be balanced on offense. And so many times you think, like, well, it's got to be, you look at the percentage, like, is it 50-50? It doesn't always have to be 50-50 to be balanced. But in this scenario, in this game, you know, we were much more heavily relying on the run. And I think that really did benefit as the game went on, because there's always that threat of running the football. You know, when we couldn't pick up the blitz and we couldn't get things going on third down sometimes, you know, we knew that the next series we could go back to run the football. So there's a confidence built in when you can run the ball, and it kind of takes, as a defensive player, it takes your soul a little bit when you don't feel like you have any answers to the run game. So I hope that going forward we see a lot more of this balance and commitment to the run game.
Is that a mindset?
Sometimes it's a mindset. Okay. Sometimes it is just scheme. Sometimes, like, look, they might have some plays where they're just better than you.
Okay.
But when you have enough answers in the run game and you throw enough motion, you have enough plays, you have enough personnel, it's going to keep the defense on their heels for majority of the time. And so I love the way that our guys up front really pushed their defensive linemen. You know, we were able to run in the A and B gaps in the inside part of their defense and really kind of gash them. And again, you know, that takes a defense's soul when you cut right to the heart of them.
Well, you talk about A, B, C, D. I want to talk about Z. I want to get all the way to the end of the alphabet.
All the way to the end, yeah.
Zadarius Smith, he is a man amongst boys, and when he's healthy, there was nobody out there that could stop him. 2 sacks today, a pass breakup, effective in the run game. How does he make this defense better?
Well, he's relentless, you know. Even when he went down with his little knee tweak, I was like, oh boy. Yeah. I mean, he's been, you know, so disruptive for us. You know, who are we going to find to replace him? But, you know, I think the fact that we can line him up from a multitude of different places, he's not just rushing off the left side or the right side. I thought one of the key things that Ed Donatel did this game was he was bringing him on an inside track. Mm-hmm. Early and often, not just on third down, but even on second down type of plays where he said, all right, if we've got a running quarterback, we're going to take an athletic guy and we're going to knife him up into the middle of this offensive line, and that's going to take away any sort of vertical running lanes just by his presence. Now that puts a little bit more stress on the guys on the outside because now they really have to contain. But I just like the switch up of using more athletic guys in the rush schemes, even on earlier downs, just to tell Kyler Murray, you're not going to be scrambling and running around all over this field this game.
I mean, Kyler Murray only had 34 rushing yards today, which last year he had over 100. He had 400 passing yards against us. It was a tell of 2 games, and it seemed like this Vikings team figured it out, especially coming out of the half. The Vikings were outscored 33-6 in the third quarter going into this game. We scored 14 points today, man.
I know.
How exciting was that just to see us make those adjustments early on in the third quarter?
Oh, after that first 3 and out in the third quarter, I'm like, oh, boy, here we go again. It's the same thing here in the third quarter. But then, you know, we did figure it out, and thankfully. And that really was, you know, thankfully the turning point for this game. You know, those 14 points in the third quarter, I think, let them know that, no, if you feel like you've got an ounce of momentum, we're going to take it right back from you, and we're going to stomp on your necks a little bit. So, you know, look, rush defense. I do want to make special mention of that. This is the fourth game in a row where our defense has held the opposing team to under 100 yards rushing. It was a concern at the start of the season. Our rush defense were like, oh my gosh, what's going on with this new 3-4? Like, can they stop the run? 4 games in a row, right? And you take away Kyler Murray's scrambling ability and all of his rushing yards, 2.6 yards by just the running backs alone. So
it's crazy.
Our run defense has been playing phenomenal the last 4 games.
I got to ask you about that. What do you think has changed from, the first 5 games until the last 2 when it comes to stopping the run effectively?
Well, obviously the guys up front are doing a great job of understanding, I think, the scheme and the gap responsibilities. The linebackers doing a much better job. They look much more confident in knowing where to go and where to fit. Because we talk about run defense, we always want to focus on, it's just the defensive lineman. No, it takes 7-8 guys in the run box to fill all those running lanes and to stop the run. So I just think collectively guys are getting more comfortable. I mean, we're finally into this new 3-4 defense, a handful of games, and now I think you're starting to see, like, okay, guys starting to relax a little bit more. They don't feel like they've got to press. They play their responsibilities, knowing that they're guys that they can trust behind them to make the plays.
That is really beneficial going forward, understanding that teams are going to have to, strategize or come up with a better scheme on trying to get the ball downhill and be effective against our defense because, if you run the ball effectively, you can do whatever you want. If you don't, you can't. And clearly the Arizona Cardinals were having problems running the ball, which forced Kyler Murray to throw those 2 interceptions to our safeties. But I want to talk about 2 guys that played against their former team today, Jordan Hicks, Patrick Peterson. I've said earlier that these last 2 games have been Patrick Peterson's best game of football in his career here as a Viking. How would you assess those 2 former Cardinals, now Vikings, today?
Well, Jordan's been phenomenal all season long. I mean, his, I've watched him on film. I kind of knew what his reputation was coming in here, but to see it live in action, the way he runs around, it just seems like he's always free. He always finds the right lane. He always takes the good angle to the ball. He's a tackling machine. And Pat P, I mean, you go back to the Miami game, phenomenal game that he had there. He was all over the passes today. He was from the jump. You saw him too. Yapping,
First
talking,
play.
First play, talking to the Arizona side, letting them know, like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to play. I want to show you guys something that you guys let go in Arizona. And I've been in those situations before you play against your former team. It always does mean a little bit more. But he was juiced up. He had a lot of energy. Again, he was going down the Vikings sideline when the offense is on the field, hyping up the crowd, letting the crowd know that he's hyped, he's into it, he's present. I like this version of Pat P.
I love it. And I love this version of this Minnesota Vikings team. Not to mention, Justin Jefferson had 98 receiving yards today. I didn't even know that. I was
quietly.
Like, how?
Quietly.
But it resulted in a win, and that's all that matters for this 6-1 Vikings team headed to the nation's capital to face the Washington Commanders next Sunday. For Ben Leber, Ryan O'Neill, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you guys again for tuning into another edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade.